Guys, how you going? So today on BKRsport, bing, bang, we are back for another tier maker here. And today it is going to be the coaches. As you guys know, I love this series every single time we film it. It's just so much fun because not only is it myself, we've got other content creator here as well, but we go through every single position in the NRL, including the coaches, and we rank them from elite quality to the job, not that great and unproven, to give you guys a bit of a heads up and to get back into the NRL mind. Obviously, we've had the off season now, we've had our cricket, we've had our A-League, we've got all these other sports that have been going on and still are going on. However, pre-season's coming up. Actually, I think by the time this comes out, pre-season is already underway. And, these series is really good to kind of remind you every single person that's playing and what to expect from them in 2023. Today, guys, we are going to be going through the coaches, which is a little bit of a different style video, I guess, to the general player positions, because it is a very up in the air kind of, position to rank, because there's so many factors that go into why a coach is good. You have to look at the situation. Is the club helping them out? There's just so many different perspectives that you can have. However, you do look at the win-losses. You do look at a lot of, actual playing factors too. So it's going to be super interesting today. But guys, like I said, I'm not here just by myself. I do have another content creator in the NRL community, and it is Zane Potter from TikTok. How we going, champion?
I'm good. How are you, Blaze?
Ready to rock and roll here, man. I'm ready to rock and roll. I just want the season to start already. I just want the season to start. I'm really looking forward to this year, and I think it honestly could be one of the closest years to date, man. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I reckon it will be as well. I reckon 1 to 12, I reckon will be close, but the bottom 5, I reckon might be a little bit further behind.
Yeah, and you better damn well not be saying the Titans in that bottom 5. Are you saying Titans bottom 5?
I've got him in that top part.
Oh, now you're talking. So this is why he's on here, guys. This is why he's on here. If he said that, I'm hanging it up right now and we're getting somebody else on. But he said a good thing about the Titans, so it's all good there. But mate, Zane, obviously let us know kind of what you do in the NRL community. You can never get too many rugby league content creators, and you're a part of the community too. What do you get going?
Yeah, I just make TikToks for fun. I break the news occasionally if it's a big news, but I normally just like to just play around with some filters on TikTok and just, use my creativity to make just fun videos out of it. Which
that's exactly how I started, man. Back in 2016, even probably all the way up until late 2019, early 2020, I was doing this just because it was a passion and just because I was so excited and loved rugby league and sport in general. And then obviously it turned into a bit more now and a lot more focus on growing it and making a career out of it. But yeah, no, it's all about just keeping that passion, man. It's all about just, loving what you're doing. And that's exactly what I do here. Some people say, oh man, they talk to me about their jobs. And I'm like, well, my job right now is to literally watch sport. And I'm pretty happy with that one. So I barely even classify this as a job. I just classify this as a passion that I'm so grateful that I'm able to do what I'm doing. So yeah, no, I definitely can see can see what you're saying there, and looking forward to seeing more. But obviously coaches, man, do you think this is a pretty tough position to read?
Yeah, it's a lot harder than players because, like you said, you got to look at more into the club, like what situation the clubs are in and what players I've got around them. You got to look into that a bit more.
Yeah, exactly, man. And obviously, did the coach come into a situation that he's having to rebuild and re-sort out? There's just so many things that obviously you do have to take into play. But obviously, guys, as you can see on the screen, elite quality to the job, not that great, unproven. There will be one at minimum in each of these categories. If you I don't feel like a coach should be watching this, to be completely honest with you, because they're probably not watching YouTube too much, to be fair. They're probably getting heaps of stats and whatnot by watching online. But if you are a coach and we do rank you in not that great, it is just because, this is your team and you think that a coach should be ranked higher than not that great. Look, it is what it is. This is going to be our perspective, man. Please do understand that this is our opinion, and it is very, very volatile in regards to what coaches, and what you believe in coaches, if you think they've got a future or whatnot. So do understand. Jump in the comment section, in the live premiere chat to let us know your thoughts in comparison to what we're saying here. This is going to be our perspective, so please do enjoy, but know that this is how we see the game. And also, if you're if you're saying, well, they're coaches in the game, like you're not as good as them, it's like, well, cool, I get that. I know I'm not as good as them yet. I'm still young. I might be a coach one day, but we're not saying that we're better than them. We're just critically kind of viewing them and putting them in comparison with other coaches. So yeah, look, they're still one of the top 17 coaches in the NRL, but yeah, that's what we have to say about that. But guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here, and Zane, are you ready to get going here?
I am. Let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. So the first man on the chopping block is Adam O'Brien here from the Newcastle Knights. A pretty harsh one here to really start off with. What are you thinking about Adam O'Brien, and where would you rank him?
Yeah, if we're going to base it off 2022, I'd put him in not that great. However, I could make a few reasons to put him at the bottom of do the job, only because he's coached for 3 years and he has gotten the Knights to the finals twice in those 3 years, even though they only just scraped him both those years. You could make an excuse to put him in, do the job. But I think overall, he's under a lot of pressure at the moment. Like, the Knights need to perform. If he doesn't perform, will most likely lose his job.
Yeah, look, I'm going to say not that great. I think he's had enough time to prove himself now. Obviously, last year they were just simply dreadful. And the year before that, they did make the finals. But also, that was a very, very weak competition that year where they made the finals with a losing record. Same with the Titans, but they made the final with a losing record and also had in seventh position, mind you, and also had a minus 100 and something points differential above the Titans there, who had, minus 760. I think they were minus 30 or 60 or something like that. So the Titans had a better points differential than the team above them, and the team above them had 2 extra wins in them, which just showed that Knights team was just not fantastic whatsoever. Look, Newcastle for me, they might have been okay in 2020, which was a limited season as well. That was a 20-game season rather than the full 26, I think 27 now this year, if I'm not mistaken. Look, I just don't think that Adam O'Brien is getting the job done. And another thing that I'll point out here is that Callum Ponga has been moved to the 6. Now, apparently, this isn't actually his doing. Apparently, this is actually something that the board's decided and the club's decided they want him to go into the 6, and he's at no option to go into the 1, which means that they don't actually trust his coaching skills because they're making the decision for him. Now, is that fact? No, that's not fact. That's just what we hear. But I do have to kind of read into it that a little bit if that is true. And because I believe he's a fullback, right? I would go not that great. I can see that the board's probably fallen out of love with him. And I don't know. I feel like they're in for a pretty poor season again this year. Would you agree with all that?
Yeah, so do I. I don't see a good year from the Knights. It would not surprise me one bit if they got the spoon this year. They have signed Hastings, but I don't think that's enough. They have their injuries last year, but that's no excuse. Like, I know they have their issues, but they're just not good enough.
Everyone has injuries, man. Roosters had a lot of injuries. Storm had a lot of injuries, and they still made the top 8. So, you just got to... The best teams are the ones that are able to figure out what to do despite the injuries. Look, Trent Robbo does it all the time. But let's go now into the New Zealand Warriors, and I'm pretty certain he's just going to have to go straight into Unproven. It is Andrew Webster here, who I believe it does come from the Penrith Panthers setup. Obviously, teams do love to scalp that Penrith Panthers situation because of their, gigantic rise in recent years. And Andrew Webster comes to that New Zealand Warriors helm. Look, I think it's going to be a pretty tough year for him. However, there's no way you can put him in anywhere besides Unproven because we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he has to be an Unproven. I don't know too much about him, so yeah, I don't have much to say about him. Like, he has to go in Unproven until the end of this season at least. Yeah,
and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough as well, even after this season, to rank him because it would have only just been the one season. We might be looking back in 2025 before we can actually rank him because I don't really like to judge coaches too much off of one season. We probably can do it, but yeah, the Warriors, I don't feel like are going to have an incredible season this year. But at least they've got their home games, so maybe they'll get a few more wins here and there, which might look beneficial to his resume. But yeah, absolutely Unproven for the time being. Now let's get to one of my favorite teams here to talk about, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. And when I say one of my favorite teams to talk about, I mean one of my least favorite teams to talk about. We have got Anthony Griffin here, who is probably on his way out this year, I'd personally say. I think the Dragons are, is the most their board refuses to go into a rebuild. They like to tinker. They like to tinker here, they like to tinker there, and they like to not finish in the top 8 and also not really compete overall. Anthony Griffin, unfortunately, is not getting the job done for me. I don't believe that he's going to get the job done. I think that he's not that great, and I would probably put him below Adam O'Brien.
Yeah, so would I. I don't even think he'll last 10 rounds. I think if the Dragons start off shocking, which I think they will, I think they're going to have a shocking year. I think he's going to be gone very quickly.
And the hardest thing about the Dragons this year as well is that obviously they start off, they've kind of banked on these 2 young halves, really, or like Jaden Sullivan coming in and Talatau Amone coming in. Amone, we're not going to talk about that, but we all know the situation around there. Shout out Julian. The other one with Jaden Sullivan, I'm pretty certain is injured. So realistically, the only big time player at the Dragons right now is Ben Hunt. And he's like 32, 33 years old, man. They shouldn't have been re-signing him for me. Like, I think that they, in baseball terms, I've said this multiple times throughout these tier lists and multiple times on videos, baseball terms, blow the club up, start again. I don't think re-signing Ben Hunt was the right option. If they had let him go to the Dolphins or even to the Gold Coast were knocking or the Broncos were knocking, I don't think he would have gone there. But I think that was the right option. And I think that Anthony Griffin is still a major part of the problem here. I think that not that great is suitable. I'm okay if somebody tried to make the argument that he's above Adam O'Brien for the sole basis and purpose that the Dragons do finish above the Knights, did finish above the Knights last year, and also with a terrible team, they are still relatively competitive. But I think it's a really negative, relatively competitive. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I'll definitely have him above O'Brien, but
Oh, you would have him above O'Brien?
Oh, no, below, I meant.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think they're going to do well this year. I predicted them for the spoon at least 5 times in the last decade, and it's never happened.
That is exactly, yep.
This year, but you never know. They probably will push up there and fight for the 8 again, as they often do. But I just don't know.
They didn't fight for the 8 last year. They didn't fight for the 8 last year. People, they'll try and tell you they did, but they didn't fight for the 8 last year.
Proximity,
yeah, no, I know what you're saying. But yeah, let's move on now. Enough talking about the Dragons, because honestly, Dragons fans, I really do feel sorry for you. But most of them are actually, the fans are so better, man. And I say this all the time. I said this with Trademark Sports when we did the Centres, who's a Dragons fan. And, I truly love the Dragons. There is a bit of ego about the Dragons fan base. But with that being said, they deserve a lot better than what they're getting. So that's why I always talk about the Dragons and try and kind of initiate discussion about why you aren't going into a rebuild, because you desperately need to. And you are probably, for me, probably 17th for closest to a premiership right now, because you still have to start a goddamn rebuild rather than just tinkering. I just think that's the biggest issue there. But let's go now into I was about to say the Brisbane Broncos here, but no, it is Anthony Seibold, who is for Manly. What are your thoughts about Anthony Seibold obviously taking over the Des Hasler position at the Seagulls?
Very interesting decision by Manly. I hear the Manly board talking to the media, and they seem to really rate Seibold. There's something about him that they really like about him, but it was just a very weird choice to go with, seeing as what happened at the last club he was at. So, yeah.
Where are you thinking they're not that great? Because I'm pretty certain that we both know he's going to be going into the not that great category. Broncos fans will put him right at the bottom.
They'd make a whole new tier just for him.
I would genuinely consider agreeing with him, though, because he's not got a great track record at all. Broncos fans, who you do have to trust as well. For me, I'm not really going to. The only coach that I would come out and realistically publicly show on for the Titans would be maybe Garth Brennan. Everyone else at least gave it a good crack. Anthony Seibold. So what I'm trying to say is that if the whole club hates your guts, then there's probably a good reason for that, because you don't usually find fans trying to talk shit about their own team. So I would make the argument for right now, put him below Anthony Griffin and not that great.
Yeah, definitely at the moment with the reputation he's got. But we also forget that he is a Dally M Coach of the Year. That's really not relevant now, but he did win that somehow, which I know it was at South.
You remember what year that was? Oh, it was South, yeah.
But I think it wasn't really him that year. I think South had the side, I know he got them from, I think they were bottom 4 the year before, the top 4 the next year, and that is why he won it. But I think, if Trent Barrett was coaching at Southside, they still would have gone well that year. I don't think it was all on him.
Man, that's a big call. Saying Trent Barrett was coach, they would have done well there. Trent Barrett was something else, man. He was a bloke, all right. He was something there for Manly and the Doggies, but I don't even know where he's kicking around nowadays. I think he might have gone back to Penrith in some capacity. I'm not sure, but yeah, look at this. The first 4 people that we started off here, one of them's unproven, fair enough, but we haven't got any coach into the job quality or elite just yet. We have started off like an absolute train here, but I think it's going to get a little bit better now. With the also, just to go back on Seibold quickly, I do believe that the situation, if Tom Trbojevic is fit and healthy, I think Seibold might actually look to be a bit of a better coach than right now. And I think that he does have an opportunity to go into do the job by next year if they get into the top 8 with a very underwhelming roster, very, very underwhelming roster outside of
Something I've noticed about Manly as well is they always seem to go on a pattern. Like they'll miss the 8 one year, then they'll make it the next year. And I don't know if that pattern will keep going next year. So yeah,
Surely not, man. Their forwards are just so average, and their backs are still also pretty fresh. And Tom Popovich is injured all the time, and Cherry Evans is obviously, nearly 45. It's the end of his 10-year contract now, which for firstly Titans fan, we think he's a muppet, but for everyone who was around back then, this is the 9th year of his 10-year contract. That's crazy. I know it makes you feel old now, doesn't it? But yeah, and then they lose 4, and man, they've got such a bang average roster, and I find it tough to see it. And now bringing a new coach, God help you, Manly. God help you, Manly. Let's move on now to another team that needs God's help. It is the Parramatta Squeals, and it is Brad Arthur here, who for me, I think I'd chuck him straight into the quality tier. I don't think I'd have him in elite. He hasn't proven to be, like a couple of the other guys who have consistently been successful and also won premierships. Brad Arthur has not taken the Parramatta Squeals to the grand final win after 37 years that they've obviously gone now. I don't think it's going to happen again this year. I do think that he still definitely is a quality coach, though. I don't necessarily think that all of Parramatta's problems are on him. He is still definitely a part of why they don't win, in my personal opinion. But I think there is an overall kind of, if you look at sport worldwide, this is actually a little bit nonsensical in a way, but if you look at sport worldwide, clubs have the same issues no matter who is coaching. It really is weird in all different sports. And it feels like Brad Arthur is another kind of sacrificial lamb to that statement there. But what would you say about Brad Arthur, man? I think he's quality, but I wouldn't be putting him into elite.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting him into elite either, but yeah, he's definitely quality. He just took his side to a grand final, so I would not put him lower than that.
Not a flog, but
at the moment, I'd put him. We'll wait until we see who else we get, but at the moment, I'd probably have him in the middle to top part of quality.
Like Parramatta, they are up there and frequently competing. Like they are definitely up there. But yeah, look, not in elite for me, but let's see if they can do it this year. But I don't necessarily believe with this playing group that they're going to be able to get the job done there. But let's move on now to the Bulldogs, a very loud fan base, and that is going to be with Cameron Ciraldo, who they'll tell you is an elite coach already. I guarantee you in the Premier chat, I can tell you Dasmate spamming Cameron Ciraldo, that's for sure. Please stop spamming, Dasmate. Please stop spamming about Ciraldo. But yeah, look, obviously he comes from that Penrith setup again. There you go, the Scalpers. And he is going to be their coach for 2023. What are your thoughts about Cameron Ciraldo? I'm pretty certain we're going to have to chuck him into Unproven, but I know a lot more about him than Andrew Webster.
Yeah. Well, he did coach Penrith for a brief period. Was the year Griffin got sacked? I think it was 2018 he did, and he got them reasonably deep. I think it was the second week of the finals, so, he went all right with them. But yeah, I've heard he's been getting spoken about it for a couple of years now about getting a head coach role, and he's finally got his shot at the Dogs, but I think there's no other tier you can put him in at the moment apart from Unproven.
Yeah, and I think that I'm going to put him, I think we put him above Andrew Webster just because we do know more about him. But with that, and he's got a better roster too. However, it is going to be a very interesting roster this year for the Doggies. This isn't a preview necessarily, but it is an interesting roster because they still lack in certain areas. They didn't sign based on need, they signed based on want. And that's the issue that I find with the Dogs. They're not actually looking at certain positions like the halfback or like the fullback or, certain like that. I guess Reid Marnie is a different one there who does go into the 9, but overall he is coming into a difficult position where Gould is Gould. He's going to feel like he's the coach and say, I'm not the coach, it's Ciraldo, but he is going to basically implement himself as effectively a coach. And then the players are all brand new, mixed with some old. There's still a lot of tentativeness about just a few positions there. So I am interested to see how he goes this year. I feel like we might not even be able to read into him next year, like I said, with Andrew Webster. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does at the Doggies because they're on the up. I don't think they're at the level that Dogs fans think they're at just yet. However, they are on the up, and I think 2024 is the year they make the finals. Let's go now into the Melbourne Storm. It is Craig Bellamy. Bang on bang. I think that just goes straight into the elite category. There's not even an argument about that. What would you say about Craig Bellamy?
Right at the top of elite. I know they had him all, backed off a bit last year, but what he's done over his career, it's just incredible. So he's won 5.
Yeah. Be careful about how many premierships he's won. Be very careful.
Debatable, but he's won 5 grand finals, let's say, and that's just incredible. Like especially, he's got to be elite. Like, we don't really need to discuss this any further. Like,
yeah, look, Craig Bellamy is definitely going to be right at the top there. Obviously, a lot of people do make the argument for he built a lot of his success and foundations off of the salary cap and cheating scandal. However, I also think it's been long enough now where he's been able to adjust enough players that he still is getting in the right players, and it is still quality. He last year had so many ridiculous amount of injuries, and they still were able to, make get a home final. I know they lost in that home final, but look at the team, man. They really did kind of fall apart. They obviously had the Dolphins just knocking on their door all year round for their best players, and there was a lot of tumultuous. It was really tumultuous at the Storm. Do I think the Storm are going downwards? Maybe not this year. When Bellamy retires, which is why he's he's definitely an elite. When Bellamy retires or leaves, that's when I can see the the Storm really regressing a lot more. It wasn't Billy Slater. It wasn't Cameron Smith. It's always been Craig Bellamy. No matter what, he always finds the right fullback. You got Nico Hines, you got Ryan Pappenhausen, you had Billy Slater, Munster came through. He is always able to find the right player at the position. Took Jerome Hughes from the Titans, who was a fullback and not really getting too much game time, and then put him into the Storm and then put him in halfback, and obviously he's become a top 3 halfback in the game. Craig Bellamy is no way outside of elite, and for me, probably does go to the very, very top, but there is still a couple that will be coming up here. But do you have anything more to say about Craig Bellamy?
No, not at all. You said it all just then.
Slapped it down. All right, next up here, let's go to the Cronulla Sharks, and it is going to be Craig Fitzgibbon, and this is a perfect example of why I said it's very difficult to read based on 1 year what I would put where I'd rank him as a coach, because he's had 1 year at the helm. They did come second, were flat track bullies though, do have some, I guess, hesitancy. They're in a very similar position to the Cowboys, who had very surprising years. You don't know if they're going to maintain or if they're going to regress. There is that flash in the pan kind of deal potentially. But with that being said, Nico Hines obviously came in and won the Dally M, which was fantastic for him and the Sharkies. Craig Fitzgibbon is a great defensive-minded coach, was a defensive assistant, obviously, a defensive coach at the Roosters. Look, I really like him. If you're going to base him off of 1 year, then you do have to go into the quality section. But then again, he would have to go right at the bottom.
Yeah, I know. I agree with what you mean about the Sharks. They were flat track bullies last season, and that proved in the semi-finals. But I don't know. I do see them dropping this season. I don't think they'll miss the 8. I think they're definitely going to make the 8, but I don't think top 4. Because I look at the Sharks side and Nico Hines. If I were to rank their players, I'd put Nico Hines top tier, but then the rest of them I wouldn't put any higher than B tier. Honestly,
I can see what you mean.
Too many superstars in that side apart from Nico Hines. So they're an interesting side to look at. But looking at Craig Fitzgibbon, I think in about 5 years' time, we could be putting him up top of quality, close to elite. I reckon there's a lot.
I don't know if I'd be putting him into elite, because we'll find that there's a common trend here with the elite category that they're pretty well proven, very, very well proven. But I definitely think that he can go up there into top of quality. If he goes and has a similar year this year, he'll go above Brad Arthur, in my personal opinion. I know Brad Arthur will have a track record, but based on 2 straight years of being in a top 14, you'd have to put Craig Fitzgibbon right at the top of quality realistically, and until he can win that premiership. I feel like elite, you at least have to have won a premiership, at least have to have won 1 premiership. So yeah, I think that Craig Fitzgibbon, bottom of quality below Brad Arthur, because Brad Arthur has that track record. Let's go now to the Penrith Panthers, the new boys in the scene, but they've won 2 comps in a row now, and there's Ivan Cleary here from the Panthers. What are your thoughts about Ivan?
Well, yeah, about 3 years ago, back in 2019, when he first signed to the Panthers, I probably would have put him in do the job. But now he's got to be in the elite tier. He's just won back-to-back premierships. Yeah, it's got to be elite.
Yeah, it's definitely elite category. I do think he came into an absolutely he actually didn't come into the perfect situation, actually. Yeah, they were shocking. Yeah, I just had to kind of change my thought process there. I guess because they're so successful now that you forget about those times that they were absolute dribble, and they were absolute dribble. But yeah, he came into a shocking go.
And then Gus walked out of the club halfway through the season, and then they nearly made the 8 that year. So that's another. Yeah,
well, Gus did what he needed to do. Gus did what he needed to do with the Panthers, and then obviously left. He wasn't ever going to stay much longer there.
What I noticed about him is that they didn't start going well until he left the club.
Yeah.
I've just picked up on that. Ever since he's left, they've been unbeatable.
I just want to clarify with this because there's no way you're trying to say that Gus didn't absolutely change that.
A little thing that I noticed, like they had potential for so many years before that, but it wasn't until he left the club where they really started getting going. But
all right, so I'm just going to respond to this. I'm just going to respond to this one because I feel like there's people out there saying, yeah. Anyway, I got to say something here. So Gus took over the Panthers in a time where they were around the bottom area of the table. They were absolutely dribbled. They were absolutely terrible. He then had a 5-year plan not to win the competition. He had a 5-year plan to rejuvenate the Panthers system, provide a youth club there, provide a trajectory through the club that was going to be obviously beneficial to the main team of the Penrith Panthers. He adjusted everything in regards to the financial structure of the team, to the way that the system was set up and the structure to get to the top level. He did everything at that club to turn them from an absolutely terrible Panthers side and a terrible, terrible team to now one of the best teams in the league. And, you know, he was there when Cleary was signed. He went out and did all these, crazy things that people thought was ridiculous at the time that ended up being absolutely phenomenal in regards to a business sense. I would never, ever, 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 ever think what you just said.
Nothing against Gus. A little thing that I noticed, but yeah.
Okay. What I'll say is that he set him up for that. If he left and then they became successful, cool, I get that. And maybe that will be the same thing with the Dogs and they might not be successful with him there. But he definitely set them up for that greatness. And there's no way to skedaddle around that, in my opinion. And I think that, I think most people will be able to see that what Gus Gould did with the Panthers is why so many clubs want him. That's why the Warriors wanted him. That's why the Dogs obviously have him now. And then after the Dogs, he's getting a bit old now, but maybe we might see another club that comes in to see if he can sort them out. But Gus Gould just kind of overtook the Ivan Cleary chat here. But yeah, look, I agree. Ivan Cleary would go into elite for me, and you can't really say nothing to that when he's won back-to-back premierships and also was in 3 straight grand finals, because we spoke about the 2 premierships they've won, but we didn't speak about the fact that 2020 they were in the grand final and lost to the Melbourne Storm. So basically for the majority of his tenure, he's been in grand finals with this club. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, they've got a great team there, which he's been a massive part of actually bringing together. But yes, Ivan Cleary does go into elite. Definitely below Greg Bellamy, though. Definitely below Craig Bellamy. But maybe in a few years' time, if he's continuing with this and they keep this dynasty, he can go above Bellamy. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. If they can win, I'd have to give him another 2 premierships within the next, let's say, 4 years at least before
I don't know. If they win a premiership this year, if they go back to back to back and they win 3 premierships in a row, Craig Bellamy's never done that. Craig Bellamy's actually never won back-to-back premierships.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't put him above Bellamy until they win about 4. That's how high I am on Bellamy.
I can understand what you're saying. I think that's also a bit of nostalgia effect that we have as well, and I agree with you. I think that the nostalgia of the fact that he's been around for so long is probably why. But I just feel like you get 3 premierships back to back.
If they were to win again this year, 3-peat, I'd put him above Robinson, which we will get to in a sec, I guess. But
yeah, we'll get to that one in a sec. But yeah, look, the sky's the limit for Ivan Cleary. Really looking forward to it. Let's go now to your man. Obviously, you're a Rabbitohs fan here, so I'll let you take the reins to start off with. It is Jason Demetriou. Obviously, had 1 year in the business now, in the business. What's your thoughts on Jason Demetriou?
Yeah, he's similar to Craig Fitzgibbon, where he's only had 1 year, and whilst it was a very good year, you still can't really give a fair call on him yet until you give him at least another two years at least. But if we're going to base it off just last year alone, I would put him in quality, but I think a lot of people wouldn't put him that high yet because he did get the side to a preliminary final, and he took over a side after Wayne Bennett, which never normally goes well, however. Which I don't want to jinx it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think on the basis of Craig Fitzgibbon and where we've ranked him, then he probably goes there. They just look a little bit out of line with Brad Arthur right now because I just feel like Fitzgibbon and Demetriou just look a little bit out of sorts.
Put him on the same level as Fitzgibbon, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You would or wouldn't?
I would.
Yeah, that's what
I was making my own list. I couldn't split Fitzgibbon and Demetriou, but in the end, I just decided to be biased and put Demetriou above him. But yeah, overall, I would have them both on the same level.
Yeah, I think we do leave them right at the bottom of quality. I think there should be, I wish there was a tier between quality and do the job because, unproven, but pretty damn well good is basically what it should be called. But yeah, I think that they're basically on the same level. Jason Demetriou came into a team that, the team usually goes pretty bad after Wayne Bennett leaves them, which is a bit of a problem with Wayne Bennett, to be completely honest with you, that no one really talks about. But yeah, he came in and struggled for the first bit, but then obviously, it really panned out later in the year. Yes, most of this team is Wayne Bennett's team. That's what I will say. But they did lose Reynolds, and Ilias comes in, who was still already a youth product there, and Jason Demetriou was effectively forced to utilize him. Even though I'm not saying that's a negative against Jason Demetriou, it's just that I wouldn't necessarily class Ilias as Demetriou's product into the system. Most of this team is pretty damn well good. So I feel like it's very hard to read him, because I feel like with the Sharks team, Fitzgibbon needs to do more with them. But with the Rabbitohs team, they've got the players there ready. They've got Trell Mitt, they've got Cody Walker, they've got Damien Cook, they've got Campbell Graham, and some fantastic backs and fantastic forwards. So there's a lot more to prove with Craig Fitzgibbon than there is Jason Demetriou. But with that being said, we've only had the 1 year. So would you agree with that statement I just made?
Yeah, I would. I think overall Souths are a better side than the Sharks. So
yeah, of course you'd say that, son. Of course you'd say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it anyway, but for what you said just then, I probably would put him above Fitzgibbon, which I think could be debatable though.
Well, no, I'm saying that Fitzgibbon probably should go above him.
No.
Because what I'm saying is that Fitzgibbon came second with a team that as you said, Nico Hines is really the only star player there, and then you got the quality tier or below for everybody else. Which mate, Jason Demetriou, Damien Cook's going to be in elite hookers. He's got Latrell Mitchell, who's in elite fullbacks. You've got Cody Walker, who's in elite 5'8". Cameron Murray, who's an elite lock. Like, he's got a better team. That's why I'm saying that for me, if I'm comparing the two right this very second, I'd be saying Fitzgibbon deserves more credit than Jason Demetriou, based on the fact that, as we said, Nico Hines, probably goes into that elite category. I can't remember what we did in halfbacks, but probably goes into the elite category. And there's no one really else there that you would say is guaranteed bang for buck in the elite category.
Yeah. After saying that, yeah, you're probably right.
There we go.
Right.
There we go. That is just our perspective and opinions, though, guys. What are you saying?
Demetriou did go further than him in the semi-finals. I'll point that out. But yeah, I think
and did beat Fitzgibbon, but again, that team
just been a bit too biased here, I think.
I think you've been a little bit biased. I think there's a little bit of bias coming in here, but he's still in quality, man. I'm still happy to chuck him into quality, but I feel like you guys make the decision for yourselves at home. Where would you personally, who would you put above based on the reasons that we've given? Yes, obviously Demetriou did beat Fitzgibbon to get to that prelim and whatnot. However, as I mentioned, the Rabbitohs team that was designed for him that he came into was actually already pretty damn well good, whilst Fitzgibbon had to fix a team that was coming ninth last year. So that's why I believe Fitzgibbon does go above. But let's get into the man, the myth, the machine, the legend. That is Justin Holbrook here, my man from the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, I'm a Titans fan for anyone who doesn't know. If you don't know that, you're a Muppet. You should be subscribed because we've got massive vlogs coming this year that we do every year. But Justin Holbrook here. I'll go first because obviously I'm the Titans fan here. I love Justin, man. I know that last year was unfortunately a poor year, which he absolutely was a part of, and he was a large part of in regards to the situation at the club. And there was also, it's not like our organization was not part of it as well. There was massive things behind the scenes that really impacted the team last year, rather than necessarily just the players on the field, which is what I really have been hammering home in my videos. But Justin, for me, is it's not me taking all responsibility away from the players, but I'm just saying that Justin, for me, I believe that he is and has the ceiling, not of elite, but I think he has the ceiling of quality. Right now, I would be putting him to the job because he's on a 50-50 reign right now. Because when Justin came in 2020, we just won the Wooden Spoon 2019. In a limited season, he then got us from last place to ninth position. And in that year, it was a 20-game season. We won our last 5 games in a row and would have made the finals if it wasn't for the 20-game season that we had. We then go into 2021. We did get into the finals. It was still underwhelming, but we did get into the finals and one pass away from making the second week of the finals if Paddy Herbert was able to, hook it up with David Fifita or Corey Thompson against the Roosters. I still would classify that as, I think that he coached that well. I do think that he coached that well. Obviously, last year, as I said, was just an organizational year that made a lot of mistakes. But the benefits that I see with Justin going into this year, he's a massive part, I believe, in regards to the fact that we are now focusing on defense for the first time in our history. The Titans have always been a terrible defensive team, decent attacking team, but a terrible defensive team that have never cared about defense. They've gone and got Brett White and also Dallas Johnson into their assistant coaches there. Finally, we're getting some help in regards to, Justin and assistants, and specifically in regards to defense, 2 very good defenders there. Brett White used to play for Canberra and Dallas Johnson Cowboys, but, Origin players there. You got to sign Aaron Shook as well into the defensive centre, which which we've never had again, and our centers at a weaker position. We signed Sammy Farrell, who's a good defender and also a good attacker there. And I just feel like every single signing that I've seen has been a positive, whether it be in regards to the assistant coaches or in regards to organizational members or in regards to players. And I feel like Justin is a huge part of this. So I'm still going to put him and do the job. I'm not arguing for quality right now at all, not after the year that we just had. However, we did finish off the season with 3 from our last 4 games, with 3 wins from our last 4 games. And I believe we're going to have a better year this year. And I think that by the end of this year and going into next year, he'll go into quality.
I agree with you there. I would put him in do the job. I know there is probably a lot of people out there who would probably put him in not that great, but...
Well, you're stupid.
So I see a lot of people who... I don't know why people aren't talking about the Gold Coast signings. I see everyone talking about the Doggies and the Tigers signings, but no one talks about Gold Coast signings. Like Kieran Lawrence, Barrels, Chris Randall, Aaron Schopp. Like, they've made pretty good signings, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think... Yeah, defense is what they've needed for a very long time now, and I'm glad they're finally in their defense done. And I actually, bold prediction, I think they can make the 8 next year.
That would be a good thing. That's what I'm talking about. Whip it in.
Again, with the Titans, you never know. Like
no, stop it. You know, you've given us the positivity. I don't want to hear it. No, I don't want to hear no negativity. No, we've got positivity. All about the Titans this year. They've made good signs, as you said. I believe this is the year of the redemption, and I'm backing in the home final. Bank it in, baby. I'm backing it in. Bank it in. Smack it in. Don't want to hear it. Justin Holbrook do the job. He's going to be in quality by the end of this year. Thanks for coming. Let's move on to a Muppet team now in the Brisbane Broncos. Let's move into the Brisbane Broncos here with Kevy Walters, who is a very polarizing figure based on the year that he's just had. What are your thoughts about Kevy Walters?
Well, I mean, if you had Selwyn Cobbo joining you right now, he'd put him in not that great.
But, he would, wouldn't he? Yeah, he would.
But I think he has to go and do the job, and you could still make the argument to put him in unproven. Like, he's been there for 2 years now. He's rebuilt the club. Like, they should have made finals last year. Like, if he made finals last year, I would have put him in quality because they were a top 4 side for most of the year, but they missed the finals, which is still beyond me how that happened. But I think he's do the job. But I know a lot of people would probably have him in not that great either, but
so 2 years now, being the bottom 8 both those years. Or did they make the 8 in 2021? No, they didn't, did they? No. They came 14th or something like that. Yeah, it was ridiculously bad, just after their wooden spoon year. I believe that Kevy Walters and Justin Holbrook are pretty much the exact same coaching situation right now. I think they're in the exact same situation where I guess their heads on a platter if they have an unsuccessful season this year. Obviously, there is positives to both sides and negatives from both sides. And I think that Kevy Walters hasn't made the 8 yet, and they did choke it up massively. They choked it up massively last year. With Justin, he's made the 8. Would have made the 8 twice if we had a regular season in 2020, but he has made the 8. And I just feel like he's in a better position right now. And I think that he's actually got less of a head on a platter situation than Kevy Walters. I just think that Brisbane is such a big city and they love their rugby league, obviously, that if Kevy Walters fails in the first 5 to 6 weeks this year, I really feel like people will come for him. They'll really come for his head and he'll be gone from the Broncos. So I feel like both these guys will do the job. I still have, because of the fact that Justin's, he's done it overseas as well. He has won, I think he won 4 premierships and whatnot with St. Helens. Won quite a few there as the coach there. Plus, also, he has made the 8 in the league. And also, I genuinely feel like this is a big year for Justin to bounce back. I would have Justin above Kevy Walters based on this. However, you could make an argument for unproven, and you could make an argument for not that great for Kevy.
Yeah, I think I'd put him in do the job only just, though. Only just, because I do rate him. Surprisingly.
Well, last year, myself and Adam's a Broncos fan. Adam was also very tentative about him, but he, I think we put these guys in the exact same area. Oh, I think we might have had Justin Holbrook right at the bottom of quality after that finals year that we got into. But yeah, look, I think these guys are put them on top of each other because I think Justin's got a little bit more proof that he's a good coach. But they're in very similar situations going into 2023. Let's move on now to Ricky Stuart, the weak-gutted dog man. Here he is. That's Ricky Stuart. Canberra Raiders. Very, very hard one to rank, but I feel like for me, overall, I'm going to argue that he should be in quality. And I would personally say that it's between him and Brad Arthur for me. I'm trying to figure out, obviously, above Fitzgibbon and Demetriou. Would I put Ricky Stewart above Brad Arthur or below Brad Arthur? I think that, I would say above. I'd put him above Brad Arthur for me. He does still get it out of the Rays when necessary. He turned that season around last year dramatically when his head was on the chopping block, and then absolutely turned that season around, got to the finals, and then beat the Storm in the first week of the finals down there in Melbourne. I think that although they got pumped by the Eels, who is Brad Arthur, overall, track record-wise, I think that Ricky Stewart's the better coach.
Yeah, so do I. Stuart's achieved a lot more in his coaching career than Brad Arthur has as well. But the Raiders, they always seem to just be a middle-class team. Like, they have the occasional year where they'll...
Besides 2019.
They sneak into the top 4 every once in a while. But, like, I can see some people making up reasons to put him in and do the job because, at the Raiders, he hasn't done too much apart from that one grand final back in 2019. But I think if we're looking at his whole career as a coach, I'd put him above Brad Arthur in quality.
Yeah, it's hard because obviously a lot of the things that he's done successfully was done like 20 years ago, which I don't really necessarily like to include. But in the same sense, it does have to be included.
I do think at the Raiders, if we're going off his career at the Raiders, I would probably put Brad Arthur above Ricky Stewart, only because Brad Arthur's been more consistent with the Eels during his time as coach.
Eels and consistent is not two words that I would put together.
They've been in the semi-finals most seasons that Arthur's been there. I think they had that one wooden spoon in 2018, but then they did make it. But I think just the Raiders,
How long's Brad Arthur been there for?
I think 10 years, maybe. No, Stuart.
10 years?
Stuart.
Was Stuart the one who won the multiple wooden spoons? Because they won 3 wooden spoons in a row by cheating. Let me go have a look here. I want to go... Brad Arthur coaching. When did he start?
It was 2014 he started, maybe.
Well, then I'm pretty certain Brad Arthur won those 3. Won a spoon at the end of maybe Ricky Stewart's coaching, which actually could make the argument that we put Brad Arthur above, if that's the case, because that means that he overtook that terrible Eels team. 2012, and then, no.
Stewart started at Canberra in 2014, I remember, so...
Yeah, so 2014 is when he coached 6 games in 2012, won 2, lost 4, and then in 2014 onwards, he's coached 224 games, 121 wins, and 104 losses. So he does have a winning record there. Now I want to go have a look at Ricky Stewart here. These guys are in very similar situations. Ricky Stewart. Why, if I type in Brad Arthur, does it come up with Brad Arthur's daughter? What are you sickos doing out there, eh? What are you sickos you're looking for? My goodness me. Ricky Stewart coaching career. The first thing that pops up is Brad Arthur's daughter. You guys are sickos. All right, let's go here. And then Wikipedia. All right, so coaching information. Obviously, Roosters, we know that. From 2014 onwards, I guess Brad Arthur does have a better record, actually, with the Eels. He does. So Ricky Stewart's got 115 wins, 107 losses. They've both got pretty much the exact same amount of games coached. So, yeah, look, I'd make the argument maybe we put Brad Arthur above.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they're pretty much on the exact same level. Like, you've got your excuses for both of them on why.
I think what I would say right this second is that at least Brad Arthur made the grand final last year, whilst Ricky Stewart's grand final was in 2019. So if we're looking at a trajectory, we're probably looking at the Eels being the better team of the two right now. And also the Eels did flog them. And Brad Arthur is the guy above. So it's very 50-50. We're finding here that there is a lot of duos. Craig Fitzgibbon and Demetriou, duo. Brad Arthur and Ricky Stewart, duo. Justin Holbrook and Kevin Walters, duo. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. But I'm happy to put Brad Arthur above. Would you agree?
Yeah. I'll
there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, last 4 here. And we do go to Tim Sheens for the West Tigers, who obviously has only recently took over the helm from Michael Maguire, Madge, who is still without a coaching job. But Tim Sheens used to coach the Tigers ages ago when they won the premiership back in 2005. Isn't necessarily really the coach, and I feel like they're in a really tough predicament here, tough pickle, because they've got Benji Marshall, who's obviously coming in, that is meant to be the guy in 2025 as the coach. So it's only 2023 and 2024 that Tim Sheens is there coaching Benji Marshall as the coach, and then Benji takes over 2025, which is like, guys, settle down. You can't complain until at least 2026 because we're in a process. That's what the organisation is telling you. Hadda Pentelis is a Muppet. I'm just going to throw that out there. However, Tim Sheens is a very, very difficult one because it has been a very, very long time between drinks. Also, what has he actually done at the Tigers since coming into a relative coaching role in the last couple of years? Because this is the first year he's the head coach, but he has been in a coaching role this last couple of years. What are your thoughts about Tim Sheens? Do you think that, like, historically speaking, 20 years ago, he was very good, but now, recently, I haven't seen it.
At the moment, I would put him in unproven because he's unproven with this Tigers side. But I know a lot of Tigers fans who are like, oh, Tim Sheens back. I'm telling you, this is the change.
He's been there for like 2-3 years, though.
Yeah, exactly. He's been like, what's he done for the club? So until he gets these 2 seasons done, I'm going to have to put him in unproven because he's unproven as head coach of this Tigers side.
I think it's 1 season. I think that he definitely is one that you can look back on after 1 season and see, because they have gone inside a lot of forwards, but also real lack of direction in the club in regards to actually signing players if need to, because, their backline is dreadful. Like, your backline, I'm sorry, but I will throw this out there for Tigers fans. Your backline is absolutely pathetic in a lot of ways, right? Your forward line is a Ferrari. Your backline is a Kia. Like, truly, it's crazy how the Tigers, who've made really good signings like Clemmer and Papali'i and Appic got a sound on the forwards, unbelievable signings. Look at your backs, though. Luke Brooks, you don't even know your wingers. Asu Kapoa and Nofaluma, who hasn't done really well in this last year or so, a couple of years. Defensively dreadful as well. Dame Laurie had a terrible year last year. The centers, who even the hell are the centers? Like, this is the thing. And then, 5'8" is Adam Dewey, but like, how much is he really going to be able to do? I'm really worried for the Tigers. I feel like they've got really high expectations for a team that is going to tank again. I really do. I feel like they've got high expectations for a team that's going to tank again. And I feel like if they tank badly, I'm actually going to say that Tim Sheens doesn't really get to include what happened 2 decades ago. And I would put him in not that great.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But that's next year. That's next year, by the way, guys. That's not right now. I'm agreeing with unproven for the time being. Would you agree with everything I just said?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Alrighty. So we'll go to the final 3 here. Tigers fans are going to hate me, but in the same sense, like, it's just kind of, it is what it is. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section. We go to the last 3 here. Todd Payten, very tough one to do because he's had 1 incredible year, but also has had pretty poor years too. But he is now the Cowboys, and my goodness me, what a turnaround it was in 2022. Last place prediction, and 15th, actually, they came the year before, to the top 4 in 2022. What are your thoughts about Todd Payten?
Yeah, I really like Todd Payten, and people also forget that he took over from Stephen Kearney, was it, in 2020? When the Warriors were like getting hammered like 40-0 like every game during that like part of the year when they
not 70-10 though.
And then he got them from last place to 10th place in a shorter season, which everyone seems to forget about. I think that was the main reason why the Cowboys signed him, because they could see potential in him. And 2021 is just, it was his first year there, so they gave him time. But 2022, whilst I do think they overachieved a little bit, I think
everyone says that, yeah.
Done very well with the club, and he did deserve Coach of the Year last year. And the way he spoke in his speech at the Dally M Awards is exactly why I think the Cowboys have turned themselves around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that with Todd Payten, it's probably... Oh, man, I actually have no idea where to rank him, though, because he still hasn't exactly proven himself a great deal as quality. But I guess, like, he has had such a good year last year, and Fitzgibbon and Demetriou it would feel rough if he's below them. But, oh, man, it's like there needs to be another tier where Todd Payten, Fitzgibbon, and Demetriou are, because they do not fit. They do not fit with Brad Arthur and Ricky Stuart, in my opinion.
I'd still have Payten in quality, though. Definitely have him in quality.
Well, he has to be on the same level as Fitzgibbon and Demetriou, really.
Fitzgibbon and Demetriou.
Yeah, well, he still came 15th last year, though.
I probably could make arguments to put him above Arthur, but...
No way are you putting Todd Payten above Brad Arthur?
I honestly reckon he could be, but... yeah, we'll just put him in between Fitzgibbon and Arthur.
Well, no, because Ricky Stewart's second and Brad Arthur is first in quality, because we came to that conclusion. Yeah, there's absolutely no chance. There's no argument in the world that would say that Todd Payten can go above Arthur, considering that in the recent years, Todd Payten still came 15th in 2021, and also missed the 8 with the Warriors in 2020, as you said. But with that being said, did do a fantastic year last year. It was a 1-year kind of deal. So on that 1 year, and also I'd actually say below Fitzgibbon for the basis that at least with Fitzgibbon, who came second in his 1 year in coaching, Todd Payten, who's had a few years now, still finished below them last year. I just want to throw that out there. I know they beat them in that first week of the finals, but overall, if I'm looking at positivity, I'm still saying that Fitzgibbon, based off of last year, because that's all we can go on with Demetriou, Todd Payten, really, and Fitzgibbon, I would say that I'd be going Fitzgibbon.
Yeah, fair enough.
There we go. All right, so gone?
Oh, no, I was going to say something about Demetriou and him, but yeah, don't worry, we'll move on.
You want to put Demetriou above Todd Payten?
No, we won't worry about it.
All right. Okay, we'll go to the final two now. We'll go to the final two, and it is Trent Robbo. I think we both know where both these guys are pretty much going, to be honest with you. But Trent Robbo, for me, I'd be putting him into second position for the time being in elite. I think that he does a fantastic job there with the Roosters. He's just always making them at least competitive, even throughout a lot of injuries. I look forward to seeing what the Roosters can do this year. I do think they're a little bit overhyped, but I do think that they're going to be better than last year as well. Trent Robinson. He's won multiple premierships and is a very, very good coach. That I still don't think that he's better than Bellamy, but he's absolutely unbelievable. And yes, I've been putting him above Cleary.
Yes, so would I. Like, as much as I hate to say it, I do think the Roosters are in for a good year, but I did say that last year and they missed the top four, which I hope does happen again. But, Trent Robinson's only 45. He's coached them for like a decade now, and they've won premierships. They've won 3 premierships and 4 in his rookie year as well. So, for doing that by 45, what's he going to do by the time he's 65?
Mate, I tell you what, considering Wayne Bennett's age, I tell you what, he's got a phenomenal amount of years ahead of him, Trent Robbo. He's going to learn more and more and more. It's fantastic.
Did Wayne Bennett get 3 premierships by the time he was like during his 10th year as coach?
Jeez, we're going back to like the 80s and stuff, bro. We're going long time back for Wayne Bennett.
So, Robinson might have even achieved more than Wayne Bennett has in his time. More than Wayne Bennett did in his 10th.
At the time, yeah. I was going to say, because they still won many premierships with the Broncos and whatnot. But yes, you might be right. I'm not sure. I wouldn't put it out as fact, but you might be correct there, which would be interesting. But yeah, look, Trent Robbo, fantastic coach, and he does go into the elite category. Finally, we do have Wayne Bennett, who we're kind of just briefly discussing then as well, who's now at the Dolphins, did take the year off and set up the Dolphins for them. And now he's there, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Dolphins go because they've got no real marquee signing, which was actually a big part about why they actually got him to be their coach because he's a lot older now. He's no young chicken anymore, no young stallion, the old Wayne Bennett when he was roaming around the Brisbane Broncos and whatnot. But look, it's obviously going to be an elite for me. Whether you put him above Robbo or below him is up to you. I personally would put him probably above, and the reason being is that he's won premierships in multiple different clubs. That's obviously won multiple at the Broncos, then at the Dragons, and got to the grand final with the Broncos when he came back for his second stint. Don't talk to me about the Knights, obviously. That was dreadful. And the Rabbitohs, he made 3 prelims in a row and also a grand final as well without being able to win it. But the fact of the matter is that he just is so good. I do think that it has been a little bit of a failure in regards to getting Wayne Bennett for the sole purpose of getting that big marquee signing like a Kalen Ponga, Munster, Trell Mitt, Cody Walker kind of deal. It's just hasn't even David Fafita. But in the same sense, I think that he'll still be able to manage the Dolphins not getting last this year, in my personal opinion. But I'll go below Craig Bellamy.
Yeah, like I know there's a lot of people who are actually forgetting that Wayne Bennett is coaching the Dolphins next season, and you can never rule out a side that's been coached by Wayne Bennett. Do I think they're going to be contenders? Definitely not. I don't think they'll make the 8, but I think with Wayne Bennett as coach, with the side they've got, I think they can push a lot higher than what a lot of people are expecting them to into like that.
They've got a lot of experienced forwards, man. They've got a lot of experienced forwards, but their backline is a little bit all over the shop.
Yes, it is. Like the Hammer, he's a solid signing, but Edric Lee, Branko Lee, I'm just a bit, they're just not up there, are they?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And their spine is very, very unknown. Hamiso and the fullback is still unknown. I don't think they're going Isaiah Katoa. I think they're going Anthony Milford and John O'Sullivan, which I believe is the wrong call. Go with Isaiah Katoa. He's such a good player coming through. Has now done it for Tonga. And then also the hooker, Jerry Marshall King, who was he was good last year for the Doggies, but overall, he's still how you going in regards to the hooker department. So yeah, we're kind of getting into a preview here of the Dolphins, but overall, Wayne Bennett definitely is in the elite category going into this year, and I don't think many can really argue it. But there we go, guys. We do finish. Actually, are you putting Wayne Bennett above Robbo as well?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, so looking at this list here, we obviously just absolutely smacked it down. Looking at this list, what do you reckon is probably the most what do you think is the most controversial call that we've made that people might disagree with?
I think a few people might disagree with us on Holbrook. I think a few people probably would put him in not that great, but I'd disagree with him. I think
Uses.
And I think maybe a few people might think we've put Fitzgibbon, Demetriou, and Payten a bit too high. I think I think they're in the right spot as well. So
you just kind of have to have them in the right vicinity, and it's those are just kind of categories to give you an idea of. So it helps us to have an idea of where we can rank them overall. I would say that there is obviously benefits and positives to them. If there was equality, but between quality and to the job, that would be where we'd put them realistically. If you think that Justin Holbrook is not that great, not you, I'm talking about everyone back at home, but if you think Justin Holbrook's not that great, then I think that you're looking too heavily into 1 year, into one single season. And I think you're a muppet. But with that being said, enjoy the show this year. But yeah, I think the most controversial picks would be that Craig Fitzgibbon, Todd Payten, and Jason Demetriou are on the same line as Ricky Stuart and Brad Arthur. But then again, it would feel a bit strange after the year they had to put them in that to the job category. But they would be. You can see the order. You guys at home can see the order here. And yeah, there we go, man. So obviously, let everyone know where they can find you. Thanks for coming on. But let everyone know where they can find you.
Yep, TikTok _Zane Potter _ make sure give it a follow. We're at the 14K.
Great. What are you on now?
I'm on 13 point something, but I might even have 14K by the time this is out. So yeah.
Well, give him 15K. There you go. Give him to 15K there on TikTok. Obviously, you're going to be a part of the charity match that we've got coming up as well, man. You're looking forward to that?
I am. I'm very excited for it. Getting so very quickly.
Should be good, man. I'll be commentating the event, which should be great. So if you guys obviously haven't heard about that, go and check out my video explaining the Sportshed TV charity match that will have all the rugby league content creators that'll be absolutely crushing it there, having a good time down there at Leakham. If you want to come, it's $10 tickets. I'm actually doing a giveaway right now, though. So I think this comes out before the 15th of February. If it does, then there is a giveaway for 5 times double passes to the Sportshed TV charity match. Plus, also, I'm giving away a Titans membership. Plus, also, I'm giving away a NRL membership to one of you guys for obviously supporting my content throughout the years. So, if you want to get potentially free tickets to that or a membership to your team this year, then go into that video and get amongst it. But, guys, I'm going to jump off here for now. Obviously, smack that thumbs up button. Appreciate you as usual. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.